Hey, what's up? This is Nathan from Gotch SEO, and in this video, I'm going to show you the single fastest way to make money online. So let me start by saying that there is no guarantee that you will be successful in what I'm about to show you. But if you take action and you're willing to accept the possibility that you could fail in some scenarios, and you're willing to put yourself out there and you're willing to take action, what I'm about to show you can be successful for you. But the most critical part of this whole process that I'm about to show you is that you do have to be willing to accept that you may get rejected and that there may be some bumps in the road along the way, but that's a part of being in business. And so if you're willing to accept that, then continue watching this video, because what I'm going to show you today is honestly the single fastest way to make money online. And it's personally what I did to make my first dollars online, or at least make my most consistent income online. So listen, I know that the internet marketing niche is saturated with all kinds of gurus and people trying to sell you these get rich quick schemes and all kinds of stuff like that. So what you can expect from me is that I am going to give you exactly how it is. I am someone who is not exceptionally talented. I just get by on working super hard, and I am willing to figure things out. And so the big difference between what you're going to learn from me and from others is that I actually get the experience before I teach it. And I also make sure that I've been successful in whatever I'm teaching before I even decide to share that information with other people. And so a lot of these courses and gurus out there that you'll see don't actually have any experience in what they're selling. So for example, if they're teaching you how to make money online, well, a lot of the times, the only money that they've made online is through teaching you how to make money online. So that is not really right. It's kind of a backwards model. Now, to be fair, that is a business model. So, more power to them if that's how they're going to make their money. But in reality, it makes a lot more sense for you to get your advice and your guidance from someone who's already been in your position and already gone through all those struggles that you are more than likely going to face when you try to start a business. So with that said, when you watch this video, I am going to show you exactly, first of all, the number one way to make money online and the fastest way to make money online. And number two, I'm going to give you 3 exact strategies I used to acquire clients, and also that you can use yourself to acquire clients as fast as possible. So I'm super excited to jump into this, and I hope you get a lot out of it. And please, if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to drop a comment below this video or in my blog post, and I will be there to answer it for you. So what I'm going to show you today is a business model that does not require a bunch of capital up front to start. It doesn't have huge overhead costs. And number 3, it gives you consistent recurring monthly revenue. And that's really hard to find when you're just starting out. And so this particular form of monetization online is one of the most reliable you can get. And it has its pros, it has its cons, and I'm going to go over both. But just know that it is very effective for generating a lot of cash and generating a lot of cash consistently, which will allow you to reinvest capital into other types of business models that are more scalable and ultimately a little lower stress. So at this point, you're probably wondering, what is this form of monetization? And the form of monetization, which I personally believe is the fastest way to make money online, is SEO consulting or full service SEO. So I got my start in full service SEO. And basically what that is a business will pay you X amount of dollars per month to do their SEO and to get them more organic search traffic, which ultimately will help them grow their business. So I believe that the best way for me to demonstrate how powerful full service SEO can be, or full service consulting, or any type of SEO consulting can be, is through a quick story. So back in 2013, I was working as a loss prevention manager in Beverly Hills at a store called Hermes. And at that time, I was trying to build up my niche site portfolio. So I was just building these niche sites, trying to get a lot of SEO experience. So I'd build a site, I drive organic search traffic, and then I start another site. I do the same thing over and over because what I was trying to do is really refine my SEO skills so that I could take on clients in the future. So what I realized while I was working this really horrible job is I was really running low on capital. So I didn't have a ton of capital to invest back into these niche sites because, first of all, they weren't making a ton of money. And second of all, the job that I was working didn't make me a lot of money. So what I decided to do was I decided to start taking on clients. And my goal was just to maybe get to $3,000 a month. So when I made that decision, within the first month, I landed a client that I found on Craigslist, and he paid me a whopping $100 per month. So in hindsight, that was obviously a ridiculous amount of money, but it was a good teaching lesson for me because I got to see how it is to, first of all, work with a client and also, be able to work on their business and help them grow their organic search traffic. So that was my first little taste, and that was really all I needed to realize that this is the path that I really need to go. And so shortly thereafter, I decided to quit my job as a loss prevention manager, packed all my stuff up, and I moved to St. Louis, drove to St. Louis to be with my current wife. And I didn't have a job. I had no clients because I let go of that $100 client because he was kind of off the rails. And then thirdly, I gave myself about a month because when I moved out here, I moved into my girlfriend, which is now my wife's mom's house, and she was so kind to let me stay at her house while I got things figured out. And so my goal was to be out of there within a month and to be making $3,000. So that is exactly what I did. Within 1 month, I exceeded that $3,000 mark. I got to about $5,000 per month, and I was able to get my first apartment and really start to focus on growing my agency. And so that was an absolute game changer for me. And I guess my end goal was just to get to 6 figures a year in full service SEO. And now that has obviously gone much further, but the point here is that full service SEO and SEO consulting is so incredibly powerful because you can make a lot of money very fast as long as you're willing to put in the effort. So now that you understand what's possible with full service SEO, meaning you can quit your day job and within a month you can really start already making income, and you could actually even quit your job if obviously your expenses are low and you are in a position to be able to do that. Fortunately, I was really young when I did this. And so I didn't have a mortgage, I didn't have a family. So I was in a very fortunate position to be able to make these drastic, somewhat risky decisions that most people wouldn't make. So with that said, there's a ton of potential in full service SEO, but there are also some cons that come along with doing full service SEO. And so the first con is that it is very, very time consuming. And so when you start an SEO agency or you decide to become an SEO expert and bring on clients, you have to actually get those clients results. And for that to be possible, you have to do a lot of work. And now, of course, you can build a team and you can grow your team so that you don't have to be the person doing that work. But in the beginning, it's more than likely going to be you doing all of the work. So that means you're going to have to go out there and find clients. Then you're going to have to go out there and sell clients. Then you're going to have to manage those clients. And then you're going to have to deal with the overall operations of your business. So there's a lot to deal with in the beginning because you just don't have that team in place. So that is the one challenge with full service SEO because it is not a scalable business model. Sure, there are certainly agencies that have scaled full service SEO, and it's certainly possible, but it's very, very hard. And I would believe that most people would not succeed in scaling it because there are so many moving parts. Now you can get very, very far. I think you can get probably up to the $30,000 to $40,000 per month mark. And that's where it starts to get really complicated. And that's where I really started to face a lot of my challenges was at that point. And I actually had 2 other employees working with me during when I got up to that point, and it was still very, very hard to manage all the clients that we had. With that said, when you're just starting out, be willing to put in the work. It's going to be a lot of hours. It's not going to be easy, But you can certainly build up your income really high and get pretty far. But just remember that it is going to be very, very hard to scale. And the other big con that you should anticipate is that working with clients is kind of like working with many different bosses. So it's kind of funny because a lot of people get into internet marketing or start their own online businesses because they want to escape the 9 to 5. They want to not have a boss. But what's kind of funny with full service SEO is you actually end up having like 10, 20, or maybe even 30 different bosses that you have to report to. So your customers and your clients are always going to be your boss. And that's just something that comes with doing business. And that's it's just a part of the territory. So you need to expect that and know that not every single client you get is going to be a good client. There are going to be some clients who are just straight up unreasonable. They can be mean, they can be really, really nasty, and you just need to anticipate that. But the good news is that the majority, in fact, a very large percentage, I'd say 95% of the clients that you'll ever get are good clients, and they're reasonable and they understand that SEO takes a long time. So that's just something that you need to be prepared for. The other thing that you need to be prepared for is that having a client SEO business does feel like a lot of pressure. And the reason for that is because businesses are paying you every single month to get them SEO results and ultimately to get them more organic search traffic and customers for their business. So that's a lot of pressure. Even when you know what you're doing, it's still a lot of pressure to know that someone is actually paying you to get them results. And so that's another thing that you have to consider when getting into this. But if you have the right framework for getting results, you won't have any problems whatsoever. But from time to time, even the best SEOs don't succeed in every campaign. And there will be a time, I can almost guarantee it, where you're going to have to explain why you're not getting results. And that's just the part of doing SEO, because there is a level of unpredictability when it comes to doing SEO. But for the most part, you should be able to get your clients results at least 95% of the time or more if you're using a proven framework. And the final con that I want to tell you is that client SEO has a very low barrier to entry. So what that means is that it's very competitive because you don't have to create a product. You don't have to spend months testing your market. You already have a very clear market, and you know that businesses are willing to pay for SEO. The market's already been tested. And most importantly, a product doesn't have to actually be made. You're just simply getting paid to perform a service. So in that case, and in this scenario, that is going to increase competition because the barrier to entry is much lower. So that's just something that you need to be prepared for. And there are many ways to stand out in this big red sea of competitors. But just so you know, there is going to be competition and you are going to have to figure out ways to differentiate yourself. Now, I'm not telling you all of these things just to scare you off from doing client SEO. In fact, I'm telling you just so you understand what problems and obstacles you may encounter along the way. And it's better to be prepared than to be caught off guard with these issues later on. So I've already been where you've been, and I know exactly what to expect. So you can learn from my mistakes. And the good news is that the pros of doing client SEO far outweigh the cons. And so now I want to tell you some of the pros that you can expect when you jump into client SEO. So the first pro of doing client SEO is that there is a very low barrier to entry. And so, of course, previously I said that's a con, but it actually is a pro as well, because if you're just starting out in client SEO or starting out in online business, this is a perfect opportunity for you to jump in without having to commit a bunch of capital. You don't have to worry about having a ton of overhead. And most importantly, you're going to be able to get a lot of cash flow up front. And so when I started my client SEO business, I got started on credit, and I had a credit card from college that had a $500 limit. This is the first credit card I ever had. And that was my startup capital, that $500 credit limit. And I don't recommend starting your business on credit. That's just what I did personally, because I'm probably a little more riskier than most people, but With that said, the point I'm trying to make here is that you don't need a ton of capital to get started. And in fact, you could probably start a client SEO agency with less than $100. The second pro of starting a client SEO business is, like I said, low overhead. And so you don't need a ton of software or tools to really get started. You only need about a few core tools to effectively do SEO. And even to run your business outside of SEO, you need some bookkeeping, which you can do manually in the beginning. You need some type of accounting system so that your financials are in order. You can do all that stuff manually in the beginning. And then as you start to expand, as you start to grow, you can begin to outsource those things or add additional team members to take care of some of those tasks. But in the beginning, you can do everything yourself. And I don't recommend doing this forever, but in the beginning, when you don't have as much cash in the bank and you don't have enough revenue to really outsource, you should be doing everything manually so you can kind of build up your cash reserve so that you can start to build your team and ultimately be able to scale a lot further. The third pro of starting a client SEO business is that you get reliable monthly recurring revenue. And so I cannot stress how amazing this is. This is one of the biggest perks of doing client SEO is because clients are willing to pay you every single month to do SEO for them. And the good news is, at least the good news for you, is that SEO does take a long time. And this is not because client agencies want this to happen. It's just the nature of doing SEO. It does take a long time. And so businesses will commit to you for at least 6 to sometimes 12, sometimes even 2 years as far as a contract goes. And that is a lot of security. And some people like security. I know for me personally, it's nice to know that you have that revenue coming in as opposed to having to figure out, am I going to be able to pay my bills this month, or am I going to have enough revenue to support my employees? Those can be scary times. And so with client SEO, fortunately, you're going to be getting that recurring revenue every single month because you're going to be in a contract and those businesses will have committed to you to pay you every single month to do SEO. And if they don't, then you stop doing SEO for them. So there are a lot of logistical things that I could get into as far as collections and how to structure your payment systems. But for now, just understand that you can get monthly recurring revenue, and client SEO is in fact one of the best ways to do that. And the best part is that the retainers are usually very high. So your monthly revenue can swell very quickly and you can really grow your business to really high revenue numbers in a very fast pace. The fourth pro of starting a client SEO business is that you get multiple streams of income. So the beauty of it is every single client that you get is a new stream of income because each client is independent of itself. So if you have one client, that is your only stream of income. And so obviously that's something that you want to avoid because you never want to put all your eggs in one basket, especially never want to put your eggs in one client because that is very, very dangerous. So really be expanding your client base and have so many clients so that if one does fall off or leaves you or is just a bad client to work with, you can feel comfortable getting rid of them without having to worry about, how you're going to be able to fulfill payroll and how you're going to be able to pay for all your overhead because you know that you already have those multiple streams of income. You have many clients, so you have a little more leeway to get rid of clients. And most importantly, you can have that security to know that you don't have to worry about where that money's going to come from because you already have multiple streams of income. And most importantly, when you have a lot of clients, it actually allows you to sell easier because you're not desperate. And when you have only a couple clients or a couple big clients, things can feel a little more stressful because every single lead that you get, you feel like you have to close them. It's like do or die. But when you have a lot of clients and your revenue numbers are big, then you can pass on a lot of prospects. And instead, you can really focus on the prospects that you believe are going to bring you the most lifetime value for your business. So the fifth and final pro for starting a client SEO business is that you get a lot of cash flow and you get a lot of capital. And so that is incredibly powerful because when you get cash, you can take that cash and you can invest it into other parts in your business or invest into different business models. So the way that I did it is when I started to get clients, I started to invest into other areas and into other types of businesses. So for example, when I started getting enough clients, I started investing into building an SEO training program because I knew that would be a scalable thing that I could do. And then I also decided to start investing into an agency that would actually service other SEO agencies on a white label basis. And those two businesses, although they started very small, are now the bulk of my revenue. And the client SEO is probably only 10 to maybe 15% of my total revenue for my business. So I started at 100% client SEO and I slowly made that transition. I took that cash from client SEO and I invested it into these other business models that are more scalable, more systemized, and ultimately free up more time for me to focus on the most important things in my business. So if you want to run a pure client SEO business, that's something you really want to do, then go for it. But for me personally, I wanted to not spend all my time growing other people's businesses. I wanted to have a product that I could sell and a business where I could grow, as opposed to growing everyone else's businesses. So it's to each their own. That's just personally what I want to do. And for you, you may want to grow the biggest client SEO business in the world. And if that's what you want to do, then you better go for it. So, but with that said, just know that when you're getting that cash, you should think about ways that you can at least save for the future at the very minimum, or you can invest that cash into other more scalable business models. So at this point, you're probably wondering how you can get started in client SEO, how you can start getting your first couple clients, or even how you can grow your existing SEO agencies. So the good news is that now that you understand the cons and even the pros of doing client SEO, and you know what you can expect and how quickly you can grow your income online, I'm going to show you 3 strategies that you can use to get your first couple clients or even get more clients for your existing SEO agency. And these methods are not easy. But before I jump in, I need to cover 3 important points. And you need to understand these 3 points before you can start jumping into getting full service SEO clients. And so the first point that you need to understand is that you need to actually know how to do SEO. So if you don't know how to do SEO, then you need to go out there and try to figure out how to do it. So of course, you could go to gotchaseo.com, my blog, and you can read all about SEO. And I give you exact frameworks you can use to get results. But what I recommend you do is if you don't have a portfolio and you don't have any results, then you need to go out there and probably build some niche websites, get a little bit of experience under your belt, show people that you know how to actually rank, because what that's going to do is it's going to make the whole process of selling prospects a lot easier because you're going to have a portfolio. They'll make everything a lot easier. And if you don't have a portfolio and you don't have any proof that you know what you're doing, it's going to be very hard to sell prospects. And most importantly, let's say for some reason a prospect decides to trust you and they hire you, but you don't know how to do SEO, well, you're going to run into some trouble, because if you can't get the results, you're going to have an unhappy client. And when you have an unhappy client, your reputation starts to decline. And you do not want your brand's reputation to decline. You want to have an amazing reputation for getting results, and most importantly, for helping businesses grow because of what you did for them. So get some experience under your belt before you jump into client SEO, and make sure that you actually know how to do SEO before you do anything else. So those were both points 1 and 2. First of all, learn how to do SEO. Second of all, build a portfolio of results. And number 3 is you have to be willing to accept that you will face rejection and there may be some failure along the road. You may face some hurdles, but that's just a part of doing business. That's what comes with the territory. So you just need to know that that's going to happen. And there is no business model where you're not going to face some hurdles that you have to clear, or you're not going to face some sort of challenges, because every single business model has its own unique challenges. So in client SEO, I've already given you several cons that you can expect and some challenges that you may face when you jump into it. So Don't be scared. It's going to happen. Know that it's going to happen and just handle it. And that's all you really need to do. Every time you face a challenge, handle it, pivot, and then just move on. And that's all you can really do. So just continually get better and better. And the more challenges you face and the more problems that come up, the better that you get and the better your business becomes. And when your business becomes better, your customers are going to have a far better experience and you're going to be able to grow a lot faster. So now you know what you need to get started in client SEO and exactly what you have to do to prepare for your client SEO journey. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 3 methods you can use to get your first clients or even get some more clients if you already have an existing SEO agency. So with that said, let's jump right in. So the first strategy for acquiring your first couple clients is to use strategic partnerships. So this is easily one of the most surefire ways to grow your client SEO business. But the challenge is that it requires you to do outreach and build relationships. And I know that's a scary thing for a lot of people, but it is so critical to your success in business and even in life is your ability to go out there and build relationships with people because you need other people to be successful. So here's how it works. You identify agencies that offer SEO as a service. So that could be specifically SEO agencies, that could be marketing agencies, that could be web design agencies. Any type of company that offers SEO as a service is a target for strategic partnerships. Then what you need to do is reach out to these agencies and ask them if they would be interested in using a white label service provider. And if you succeed, you will then do SEO for their clients, but they will get all the credit. So in essence, the agency can focus on acquiring new customers, and your only responsibility is to get their clients results. So many of my early clients were strategic partnerships, and I can tell you from experience that it is a reliable and effective way to grow your agency. But with that said, you don't want to rely too heavily on white label relationships as your sole source for revenue. It's best to use a combination of white labeling and direct to client relationships. That way you can stay diversified and you don't put your business at risk by relying too heavily on these strategic partnerships. So the reason why white labeling is so great on your side is because you only have to sell to the agency one time. And once you partner up with the agency, they will send you new projects all the time. That is, if you're getting results. And it's very, very nice to not have to worry about finding new clients and having to sell those clients and repeat that process over and over. Instead, when you partner up with an agency, they do all that heavy lifting and your sole responsibility is just to get their clients results on a consistent basis. And they will continually send floods of new clients your way because they are more than willing to send those off and take less profit so that they don't have to do the work and so that they can focus on the really important parts of their business, which will be selling new clients. So now I want to show you a very basic workflow that you can use to land some strategic partnerships for your SEO agency. So the first step is, like I said, to identify companies that offer SEO services. So that could be anything in SEO, marketing, web design, PPC, graphic design, or even video production companies. They all often offer SEO services, so you can take advantage of that. And you really want to build a huge prospect list. And don't just focus on your city, focus all around the country or even in your respective country because there are so many opportunities. So make sure you build that list out really, really well so you have a lot of opportunities and you have a lot of chances to build relationships. The second step is to find their contact information. So you can just use a tool like Viola Nobert or Hunter.io to find pretty much anyone's email. The third step is to start your outreach. So I'm not going to give you a ton of guidance on outreach. And the reason is because templated based approaches will have low conversion rates. You need to use personalized, well thought out email to build relationships. With that said, I'll give you some key elements you need to cover if you want to have high conversion rates and be able to build as many strategic partnerships as possible. So the first thing you need to do is get to the point. Don't focus on selling on the very first email that you send. Just pitch the idea, give them an idea of who you are, why do you matter, and what's in it for them as quickly as you possibly can. Don't send them a huge paragraph text when you guys have never even had any type of discussion before. You're just trying to feel the agency out. You're trying to see if you can build a relationship. Don't play all your cards right away, because you want to make sure that they are qualified and that they actually want to engage in some type of relationship. So with that said, the third element of your email is going to be the offer. And you just tell them real briefly what your offer is, what you're going to do for them, and what they can expect from this type of strategic partnership. And the main points that you need to emphasize is that, first of all, you have a track record of getting results. That's most important, because they're going to have to trust you to send their clients to you, that you're going to get results. They don't want to just send their precious clients to you and you not get results. So that's why it's so incredibly important to have a portfolio of results. And second of all, they want to know what this relationship is really going to do for them. So you need to emphasize the fact that you are going to be handling the bulk of their work so that they can focus on getting new clients and selling new clients. So obviously you want to articulate this a little bit cleaner, and you want it to be a little more personal, but hit those key points and just make sure you keep it as short as possible, at least in that very first email. So now I want to show you the second client acquisition strategy, and I call this the FOMO tactic. So let me start by defining what FOMO is. FOMO stands for fear of missing out. And I won't get too deep into the psychology of FOMO, but it's a powerful principle that works on almost all human beings. So the way you are going to leverage this principle is by finding influencers who don't have a strong organic search presence. Then you will reach out to them, give them data showing how much traffic they're missing out on. And obviously, the end goal is to do SEO for them. So let me get a little more specific about these steps. So the first thing you want to do is develop a list of influencers. So those could be Instagram influencers, those could be YouTube influencers. And you want to identify these influencers who are not getting much organic search traffic. So the key is to find influencers where the follower to organic search traffic ratio is way off. For example, let's say a fashion influencer has 100,000 followers on Instagram, but you estimate their organic search traffic is less than 10,000 visitors per month. This would be a prime candidate to reach out to. Ultimately, look for unbalanced ratios or little to no organic search traffic. So now you're probably thinking, how do I do that? What you need to do is simply throw the prospect's URL into SEMrush or Ahrefs to see their estimated organic search traffic. The second part of the process is to do some basic keyword research just to get some search volume, because you're going to use this search volume to show them what they're missing out on and what the potential is if they do invest into SEO. So after that, the third thing that you need to do is actually reach out to the influencer to gauge their interest. So you, of course, need to find their email address. So like in the previous strategy, you can use hunter.io or Viola Norbert to find their contact information. And once you've done that, you want to send them a very simple email just to gauge how interested they would be in this type of relationship. So for example, you could say, hey, name, just insert their name. Love what you're doing on insert platform, which would be Instagram, for example. My name is Nathan, and I'm the head of SEO at Gotch SEO. I noticed that you have a large following on Instagram, but I wanted to give you a heads up that you're missing out on approximately 39,333 website visitors every month. Can I send you a quick video showing you how you can capture this traffic you're missing out on? So you'll see this is just a very simple email just to gauge how interested they would be, because we're trying to get them to realize that they're missing out on a huge opportunity to grow their business. And what you need to realize about a lot of these influencers, they are all about growth. They want to continually grow their following. And so if you give them this idea that they're actually missing out on something, and they really are, they are going to be very interested in what you're going to show them. So two things can happen after you send this type of email. If they don't respond, then you're going to want to use a follow-up sequence. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, but a follow-up sequence is basically you just follow up with them every couple of weeks to see if they got your email and if they're interested, and then ultimately for them to either say no or say, yes, I'm interested. That's really the goal. So there's a lot of psychology behind following up. Most people believe that if you follow up at least 7 times, you can get a response, but that is something to test on your side. So I'm not going to get too deep into that. But for now, just know if they're not responding, Don't just leave it cold. Make sure you do follow up. The second element of this process is if they do respond, then you need to show them the keywords they can rank for, plus how much traffic they could get from ranking for those keywords. So that would be the second type of email that you send them that would include a video. Now, of course, you don't have to use a video. I just recommend using video because it's more personalized and it also shows that you're putting in more effort to add value to them. So the last part of this process, after you have shown them the potential, you are then going to send them a pitch email or get them on the phone. So just make sure your offer is quote unquote special and that there is a deadline attached to it. And so this is just basic sales. You always want to give them some type of special offer. So for example, if you sign up by Friday, you can get 50% off your first month, something of that nature, just to get them in the door. And if you don't have a ton of credibility, then you can use a free or ultra low priced offer just to get your feet in the door. So for example, you could say, I will do a free SEO audit for you, or I'll do free keyword research, or I can do a free competitor analysis. So just something that can add value for free if you're really new. And ultimately, the real goal here is to add massive value up front. And remember that lifetime value is really what matters in this process. Don't try to hit a home run on your first email or your first contact point with this individual, because really your goal is to try to get as much revenue and as much lifetime value out of this person or company as you can over time. So the final strategy, which is number 3, is what I like to call the client thief method. So strategy 3 is the most risque method because you are calling out other low-performing SEO agencies. So I'll tell you now, this is not one I highly recommend you use a lot, but if you really don't care what other agencies think about you, then this can be one that works very, very well. So the truth is, businesses pay to get results. They aren't a charity and they want to see a return on their investment. So if an SEO agency isn't achieving that goal, then there's no reason that a business should continue to pay them. Of course, every SEO agency needs a fair shot, which means they should be given enough time to be properly evaluated. So to put that in perspective, most SEO campaigns pick up traction around the 6-month mark, but this can vary greatly based on the website authority, website age, or various other issues that are encountered. So in essence, the client thief method is designed to attract businesses who are unsatisfied with their existing SEO campaign. So here is how it works. So the first step is to create a landing page. The second step is to create a Facebook ad. So the Facebook ad can just be something like, does your SEO agency suck? Or is your SEO agency not getting you results? And then you can put, we will audit your website and SEO campaign 100% free, no commitments. We will tell you if your SEO agency is on the right track or if they don't know what they're doing. This analysis is 100% free and private. Don't worry, we won't tell your agency. Your business deserves to get results when you are paying an agency. Don't waste another day wondering if your SEO agency actually knows what they're doing or not. Secure your free assessment today. So you can see from this template, what you're trying to do is just get them in the door, and you're trying to attract companies that are not seeing success in SEO so that you can basically take them and get them results, which is what they deserve. So there's nothing unethical about this. This is the free market. And if an agency is not getting businesses SEO results, then they don't deserve that contract. They don't deserve to work with those businesses. So you have the opportunity to pull those clients away and ultimately get them the results that they deserve. So you want to be essentially their knight in shining armor when it comes to SEO. So if you decide to do a free SEO audit pitch, then I highly recommend that you use video for this SEO audit and just kind of guide them through what you found and solutions to the issues that you're seeing and ultimately the reasons why they're not getting results, because that will establish your agency as an authority and really put you head and shoulders above the agency that they're currently working with, because you're actually showing them why they're not getting results from the efforts of the SEO agency that they're currently working with. After the audit, what you would do is just send a simple pitch email just saying, we can help. So some type of pitch just saying, if you sign up with us by Friday, we'll give you X amount of dollars off, just something that really gets them to make that decision to get off with that other SEO agency and to jump on board with you. Now, of course, there are going to be many companies that take you up on your offer, but they don't actually want to end up paying you because the reason is that they're locked into a contract with the other SEO agency. So what you want to do is you want to categorize every prospect based on the sales cycle. So for example, if the prospect is locked into a contract, you want to make a note that that is the case and also put that amount of time that they're still locked into the contract so that you can follow up a couple months later just to close them, because more than likely they'll want to leave that SEO agency because they want to work with an SEO agency that can actually get them results. So basically what you're doing is you're planting the seed for a future client. And so there will be some cases where a client will immediately sign up with you because they're not on a contract and they're just so done with their agency. But in most cases, they're probably going to be locked into a contract. So you just want to make note of that either manually or within a CRM, which is a customer relationship management software, which I highly recommend you use if you are starting an SEO agency. So that is all you need to know about the fastest way to make money online. So what you need to do is take all the information I've given you and go out there and take action. And as long as you take action, you're willing to accept the possibility that you may face some rejection or there may be some failures along the way, you will be successful. And don't be afraid of the unknown, because ultimately you can't control that. All you can control are your actions that you take. And so I've given you a framework you can use to go out there and get your first couple clients or add additional clients to your existing agency. So that's all there is to it. So if you like this video, please feel free to share it with any of your friends that may like it as well. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please drop it below this video or feel free to drop a blog comment on this blog post. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.